Howdy. Have you ever walked into a fast food restaurant or a sit-down restaurant and thought that something wasn't quite right? Maybe you ended up with a bad dining experience. Well, according to food critics and chefs, these are the warning signs you should be looking out for. These are the red flags of an abysmal fast food restaurant. And obviously, there'll be lots of exceptions to these rules. But these are the most common red flags according to food critics, or the most voted red flags by people, and a bit of my own personal experience. But of course, if we're talking restaurants, we really could use a critic. So let's ask a critic for help. Oh, there's a critic. Let's ask him.
Oh, hi Strider. Yeah, I'm a critic, but I review movies, not food. I think you want a food critic, not a nostalgia critic.
Well, yeah, the critic is in your name. That automatically qualifies you. Plus, it's been ages, so it's my flimsy pretense to have you on the show.
Okay, it's been a while. Yeah, I'm happy to help.
Thanks, critic. Let's begin. Starting with number 10, we have a dirty bathroom. They say for people, the eyes are the window into the soul. But for fast food restaurants, the toilets are the window into the soul.
Strider, what the hell are you talking about?
Well, according to some experts, before you decide on a restaurant, you should check their bathroom.
Oh, right, because there's nothing weird about snooping around a restaurant and then inspecting their bathroom before placing an order.
Guys, it's not weird if you need to pee.
Oh, hi, Nin.
Hey, critic.
Well, toilet weirdness aside, the dirtiness of a bathroom is a good indicator of how clean the rest of the place will be. Experts say that if the toilet floor is wet and smelly, or the bathroom's toilet paper is low, or that soap dispenser is low, those can be signs of a poorly run restaurant, even if a dirty person does come in and trash the toilet. A good restaurant will have a regular cleaning of the bathroom on the clock at least twice per day. When it's busy, sometimes as often as every 2 to 3 hours. Often the crappy state of the toilet shows that staff aren't keeping up with their tasks. And they might not be keeping up with their other restaurant cleanliness tasks either. Whether they're understaffed or overworked, it's not a good sign. In my own personal experience working in food stores, you could tell how understaffed I was and how behind I was by how long it had taken me to clean the toilet. So I think there's a lot of truth to this. Alan Ginn's been a consultant in the restaurant industry for over 25 years, and this is what he thought.
In all my career, I've never been in a restaurant with a poorly maintained bathroom that had a stellar kitchen or superior food. Dirty restrooms show a lack of attention to detail that can undermine food quality.
Howard, the CEO of Restaurant Expert Witness, agreed with this.
For a clear sign of the restaurant's sanitation standards, just step into the restroom. When a bathroom is filthy and every customer can see, just imagine how dirty the kitchen is, where customers can't see.
So to be a true clairvoyant of restaurant hygiene standards, just peer into the toilet.
Yeah, but what if I lose my appetite after inspecting a toilet?
Oh yeah, well, at least that gives you time to find somewhere else.
What's the next one?
The menu is a mile long. A fast food restaurant tends to stick to one food culture, whether it be Panda Express Chinese food, Taco Bell's quote-unquote Mexican, or McDonald's American burgers. But I saw this issue pop up many times in sit-down restaurants. Online critics complained about this a lot. You see, sometimes less is more. And when you sit down to find a menu that's 10 pages long and spans Italian, Chinese to Indian food, that's a red flag.
Available at any point in time. We have a half-pound Angus prime burger. I had actually 20 more.
Regardless of what culture food it serves, a huge unfocused menu can be a concern. Restaurant critic sites like Food and Wine and Reader's Digest say that when you see many different cuisine types, it's a clear sign a restaurant hasn't mastered any of them. I wonder if it could be a freshness and safety issue as well. If a menu has 100 dishes, how long has it been since someone ordered the item you're getting? If the dish you choose isn't popular, it might be made with old ingredients that have been sitting in the back room for quite a while. In my personal experience, I have found restaurants with like 100 dishes on their menu, and often the food I ordered ended up being wrong or just tasting really mediocre.
The base is soggy, it's all watery.
Sometimes even leaving me regretting my menu choice and not finishing my meal.
This was a common complaint on Reddit, too. Okay, not that Reddit's an expert chef opinion, but it gives us an idea of the public consensus. 6,800 Reddit users agreed with this comment.
Pages and pages of food that doesn't make sense or go together, is a red flag you're in a bad restaurant.
That being said, it's not uncommon for diners to have a long menu. Often a lot of their foods are made using similar ingredients. But some critics suggest avoiding the diner's fancier foods.
No, I don't.
But some food critics suggest avoiding the diner's fancier foods. Yeah, they say stick to a diner's chicken, sandwiches, and eggs over their lobster fettuccine.
Wait, do diners even have lobster?
Yeah, tinned lobster. You want some? It's really nice.
That's insane! I probably have my lobster at McDonald's.
And for number 8, everyone in the restaurant is a tourist. This may sound like an odd one, but it's actually a very real phenomenon. When a restaurant or fast food place relies heavily on tourism foot traffic, they don't have to rely on their reputation. They'll get constant tourist traffic whether they have a good or bad reputation. Sometimes they'll get customers purely because they're the closest place to a popular tourist attraction. On the other hand, if you see a restaurant where the locals are eating, there's a good chance some of them are there because of a good reputation.
I guess a restaurant with less tourists has to work harder to please their customers, if they want them to come back.
Precisely. I think it's part of why we shouldn't always trust a busy restaurant. Some restaurants may just be swamped with guaranteed tourist traffic, so they're able to serve garbage food and people just keep coming back. Because there's so many constant new customers, it doesn't matter if they never come back again.
This rule could extend to fast food chains like McDonald's, too. Surveys say that they have some of the lowest customer satisfaction of any restaurant, but they're still the most popular fast food chain in the world.
Yeah, makes me wonder if Mickey D stays popular in spite of their reputation. Like customers are returning out of habit, or because it's convenient, or because it's their kid's favorite food and it also has a playground for them. Jonah had similar thoughts on Reddit, with 1,000 people agreeing with him.
There's a restaurant in my town that is always crowded and expensive. When my wife and I went there, the restaurant was dirty. Food tasted stale, and my wife happened to walk by the kitchen and see 6 microwaves heating stuff up.
So if you want decent food, don't assume a popular place is good food, particularly ones that look like tourist traps. Why not instead try where the locals are? And for 7 lucky 7, a bad smell in the restaurant. Your nose is one of your most reliable, innate, instinctive senses, and our sense of smell has become particularly good at keeping us healthy and safe over hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. According to Science World, we're attracted to smells related to edible products and repelled by smells of rotten or harmful chemicals. So when it comes to restaurants, trust your nose. According to this food critic,
whether the restaurant smells like stale grease, burnt food, or there's just an overall stench that burns your nostrils, trust your nose and walk away.
As an ex-cleaner myself, I think a good restaurant should know the importance of hygiene and cleanliness. A good kitchen will eliminate lingering smells from dirty cooktops, counters, and other places where food is prepared.
well, speaking purely as a customer, the only thing I like the restaurant to be smelling like is food, or maybe lemon flavor.
My old favorite surface spray.
According to Restaurant Business Online, the most common sources of those bad restaurant stinks are food gone bad, grout lines, mold, dirty restrooms, and mops. Even air conditioning units can let off a stink.
So, as Gandalf would say, when in doubt, always follow your nose. And du can't say mer än kan.
If you can't, always follow your nose to fruit.
And for number 6, disinterested staff or you don't receive a greeting. Have you ever had that very reluctant person serving you at the counter? Or that waiter who just looks like they want to be anywhere but here? That can be a sign you should probably give them some space and leave. According to food critic Michelle Stansberry,
If the front of house staff look disinterested and checked out, it's a sign that the management isn't doing a good job running the restaurant. If the front of house looks unengaged, the back of house probably is as well.
and I've definitely witnessed this as well. Whether the staff is overworked and stressed or simply doesn't care, this has often led to them forgetting something on my order, mishearing me, or maybe even not using basic hygiene like wearing gloves or washing hands before preparing food. Plus, in the many restaurant reviews I've read over the years, such as in the most hated sit-down restaurants, one of the biggest complaints across the board was disinterested staff, and all the complaints it led to.
In the reviews I read,
Yeah, true, I on, you mostly read them. A good rule of thumb in most quality restaurants is they'll always acknowledge the customer when they enter. When I was working at Subway, the first thing I was taught was to always greet the customer when they entered. If it's not crazy busy and the staff don't bother to acknowledge you when you enter, that can be a red flag. If you're feeling ignored, it might be worth politely and calmly leaving. You deserve better. But disclaimer, I don't blame this thing purely on the staff. Restaurant workers have a really tough job and they need to be supported by their co-workers. But when that support isn't there, other things may go wrong too. On a side note, I think the experienced chef Mr. Bayless brought up a fun fact on where he felt the most welcome.
The places that I have regularly felt the most welcome was from street vendors. I have found this constantly all over the world.
And for number 5, stickiness. Sticky menus and sticky, greasy floors. If you go to a sit-down restaurant and you're not first snooping through their toilets,
Because apparently that's something people do.
menus are your first insight into the place you're dining in. If the menus look like tattered fish and chip wrappers with breadcrumbs and sauce stains, this can be a red flag. In a good restaurant, staff should be regularly wiping down menus between customers. Ideally, they should be taking and cleaning your menus when you're done looking at them. According to Alan, a 25-year consultant in the restaurant industry,
If your restaurant delivers torn, worn, or dirty menus, that can tell you the manager doesn't pay attention to his or her restaurant environment.
and of course, sticky floors are a dead giveaway too, and this particularly applies to fast food restaurants. Have you ever walked into a fast food place and found the floor is slippy, greasy, or sticky? Sometimes a spill can happen and the staff can still be in the process of cleaning it. But if you're finding it sticky or greasy on lots of parts of the floor, this is a bad sign. Much like the dirty bathrooms, this shows staff are behind on their basic cleaning tasks. In my community, J15 pointed out another reason the floors might be sticky.
Floors can be sticky or slippery due to not frequently changing the mop water or not having a good quality cleaner.
Yeah, and I found this when I was cleaning service stations too. The worst service stations I ever worked at would do this. We rarely changed the mop water and just left it stagnant to clean up quick spills in the shop. And after a while, the whole dang floor could get that rank stickiness. Ugh. Even when I started refilling it, they told me it took too much time.
The cleaner me is ashamed of you.
Well, I'm sorry. I was young and foolish and mostly working alone and had to serve customers anyway. To briefly interrupt, here's some small, groundless personal tips that Nin and I have found eating at smaller, cheaper restaurants. This first tip was actually backed up by 2,000 people on Reddit.
If it's a small restaurant and you see kids doing homework at one of the tables, try the food. It's always good.
That is the weirdest tip I've ever heard.
I know, isn't it? But it's true.
Yeah, I know it's an odd correlation, but Nin and I have found this at our 2 favorite restaurants. In both places, the son and daughter come by the food court after school to finish their homework, and both the restaurants' food is absolutely amazing. Don't know how this works, but apparently thousands of Redditors agree. Another good sign is if you see people who are working there are eating the same food you are, they're not going to like another restaurant to eat. We found this at our favorite Middle Eastern kebab shop. One of their staff will often be having a meal from their own restaurant, and they serve our favorite kebab bowls of all time. Again, this one is often agreed upon on Reddit. Anyway, with those weird random tidbits, let's continue. Number 4. Bad or ignored reviews.
Come on, this one's an obvious red flag.
Yeah, I know, but you'd be surprised how easy it is to overlook. Plus, it's easiest and quickest red flag to check. All you gotta do is pull out your phone, pop your fast food place or restaurant into Google Maps, and you'll likely get an overall star rating. Take a quick glance at some of the individual reviews. What do they say? Was the food okay? Are the staff nice? A couple of 1-star reviews from a disgruntled employee, a competitor, or an unpleasable customer isn't uncommon. So reading enough reviews is important to attain an overall sense of the place. But a frequent 1 to 3 stars is a much bigger red flag. Tasting Tables said frequently ignored reviews are a red flag too.
It's good practice for restaurant owners to read the reviews and respond to them. It can be very telling when they don't take the time to publicly address a problem. It shows they're not paying attention or don't care. Either scenario is a red flag.
Well, at least a replied review shows the owner cares and that they're thoughtful about their customers.
True. Or they're at least thoughtful about their reputation.
Well, whatever the incentive, at least the customers attended to. And what's our third red flag? The restaurant isn't busy but has a long wait time, or the restaurant is empty. I'm kinda lumping these two together, but they were very common red flags from food critics. And long wait times in a quiet restaurant was the most common red flag on Reddit. This top red flag was agreed upon by 6,000 people.
It's a red flag when the restaurant isn't even busy, but they take ages to serve you. And when they finally serve you, they seem reluctant.
Jamie had similar sentiments.
I remember this one place in Wisconsin took over an hour to bring us our food. There were only 2 other tables occupied. The food came out cold.
Yeah, but if people have this problem, isn't it a bit late? They've already ordered their meal.
True, I guess they could just pay, leave, and eat somewhere else. It's a waste, but at least they have a nicer dining experience.
So why is an empty restaurant a red flag?
Well, this particular red flag was recommended by Reader's Digest, USA Today, and BuzzFeed. If you walk into a fast food place or restaurant during busy hours and you're almost alone, this can be a bad sign, especially if the places nearby are busy. There's some sense to going where the locals go, and if locals have left a place completely empty, they may know something you don't. Personally, this is a tough flag for me to follow because I don't like to go to busy places. I tend to go to the quiet places because I don't like crowds. Mr. Colvin, who runs a food branding and consulting agency, agreed on this red flag too.
If no one is eating in a restaurant, it could be overpriced. It could have bad customer service or bad food. If the seats are empty during busy hours, consider it a red flag.
This is a big one. Number 2. Shouting in the kitchen or at the counter, or fights in the dining room. I hope you don't witness this often, but if you're hearing shouting in the back, or your local Waffle House is broken into a brawl, get your rear end out of there.
Hot take. I agree. This red flag makes a lot of sense to me.
If you're not ordering at the drive-thru, your experience isn't just the food's taste, but also the restaurant atmosphere.
They play up the conflict on shows like Gordon Ramsay, but in reality, no restaurant should have fighting or shouting.
I mean, if they're shouting the customer's food order to their co-worker, that's pretty standard, particularly in Japanese restaurants. But if there's hostility, or you witness strife between the staff and manager in the dining room, well, that's a big red flag. That's no good. Kitchen staff should work in a state of harmony, not combat. Staff don't have to be beaming with joy, but outright hostility does not bring good dishes to the table.
And if there's anything else I can do, please hesitate to ask.
And now for some quick honorable mentions. No utensils or cutlery are provided. Interestingly, when I asked my community, this was one of the biggest complaints. Say you're at a Taco Bell or a kebab shop and you finally get your burrito bowl or your kebab bowl, only to discover you were not given any knife and fork. And yeah, it happens, and it is a frustrating mistake, but I don't think this necessarily means you're in for a bad meal or an outright bad restaurant. Mistakes happen, but yeah, it's a really annoying mistake. Particularly when there's a big lineup and you have to go back and wait in line to ask for utensils. It's that. A good habit when you receive your meal is to always check for a knife and fork in your paper bag. Next red flag is dirty tables, cutlery, or glasses. If your table is stained or still has crumbs of food on it, if there's lipstick on the glasses or bits of dried food still stick to the fork, well, there's a good chance hygiene isn't the restaurant's top priority. And that could be a red flag you're in for a not so nice dining experience. Next red flag is a dirty and unloved parking lot. When you pop through to that fast food place or restaurant, you may have to park your car, or at least walk through the parking lot if you were bussed or walked up. But parking lots aren't just a place to park your car. They can also be an insight into the restaurant. A little litter in a parking lot is normal, but a parking lot that's covered in trash and debris can suggest laziness and a poor management. Next red flag is multiple errors. This one's short and straightforward and can apply to restaurants or fast food places. Both can get very busy and servers are only human, so mistakes do happen. But if orders keep going wrong again and again, this can be a sign of something not quite right behind the scenes.
Hey listen, servers are human, and errors can occur, especially if it's noisy. But if your order is completely wrong, this can be a red flag that the service is not up to snuff.
And with those said, on to number 1. And for our number 1 red flag, a high staff turnover. This one can apply not just to fast food places and restaurants, but service stations, coffee shops, and basically any establishment that prepares food. Sometimes you only have to look at staff for a red flag, or disappearing staff. When staff keep disappearing and being replaced between your visits, well, something might not be quite right in the back room. According to a Reddit user, Delarock,
When there is low morale or high turnover with staff, it is usually a sign of bad management, which likely means management doesn't give a shit about staff, cleanliness, or quality.
Well, what do you expect when sometimes the cleaning crew leaves like this? Full disclosure, the reason I did this is because the guy I worked with was constantly trying to get me fired. He got like the past 3 or 4 other janitors fired because he got paid more if he didn't have somebody else there helping him clean. So yeah, if you want to avoid something like that, maybe treat the cleaning staff okay.
in my own experience, high staff turnover can often be correlated with poor customer service, lack of experience, and less commitment to assuring customers were taken care of. In short, people come and go, but staff continually quitting is a major red flag for the customer. Why are staff always leaving? Are they unhappy? If they're fine, why can't this restaurant or fast food place keep some regular staff? Plus, with high turnover, you're in a perpetual state of being served by trainees. Because people are quitting, your chefs and servers are likely to be less experienced and less trained. The website Poached Jobs did a good discussion on this.
A high employee turnover rate can be a red flag indicating internal problems within the restaurant business. This high turnover can lead to poor service.
Whether fast food, groceries, or basically any form of shopping or service, so often I've witnessed high staff turnover and seen a drop in quality. I'll be a regular customer somewhere, then staff will just start continually disappearing, and many of the new staff that come in aren't necessarily as well trained or even as caring. MHR Global had some thoughts on high turnover too.
High turnover is a top indicator that company's culture is turning toxic, and that culture can trickle onto the customer.
While people will come and go in any job, it's when every staff member starts moving on within weeks and months that I start to question the restaurant's quality. Anyway, recently I actually haven't been out to eat as much to save money, but I do remember experiencing a lot of these red flags over the years. Do you ever see these red flags when you go out to eat? Do you think these red flags are wrong? As you might have noticed, this is a more subjective list than usual, and I'd be curious of your opinion on these red flags. Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments below. And thanks to Nostalgia Critic for being on the show again. It's always good to have you here, Critic.
Anytime, Strider. Till we meet again.
Until we meet again. And as always, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.
Oh, hi, Min.
Hey, Critic.
Oh, sure. I guess as a critic, I do hate most things, so why not include hating food too? So yeah, happy to help. But not that happy, because critic.
Today's member question is from Your Local Chaos. They ask, are there any cartoons or shows you want to make a top 10 list on? Well, yeah, but part of why I shied away from cartoon videos is I simply don't watch as many cartoons nowadays. Plus, after 10 years, I kinda wanted to give you more variety outside of cartoons. But there are some shows I still watch regular, like Bob's Burgers and Family Guy. I think I'd like to try a worst best episodes video on Bluey, Thomas the Tank Engine, or even the Marvel movies, as I'm a big fan of them. But, you know, if I want to pay the bills, I gotta choose carefully. Thanks for the question.